welcome back to Toony Nails, the channel where we focus on cartoons on nails. Today, as part of my Valentines series, we're going to be doing a digital tutorial on how to make candy hearts. But it doesn't stop there. Later in the video, I'm going to be doing an actual painting of the candy hearts on real nails so that you can see how I did it. Now, I don't know if this is only a North America thing, but these candy hearts are the little chalky kind of candies you got on Valentine's Day that have really fun messages on them. You're supposed to give them to your Valentine to tell them how you feel by being also very cute and trying not to embarrass yourself, which is very rare in grade school. Anyways, now they're just a staple of the holiday, and I'm going to teach you how to paint them. Now, the main thing about candy hearts is that they are a three-dimensional shape, and the easiest way to learn how to draw them is to think of them as squares. Or the 3D version of a square, which is a cube. So up here at the top, I'm drawing what the shape looks like when you look at it straight forward. And on the bottom, I'm drawing it as how you would see it if it was laid on its side so that you can see its three-dimensional shape. Now, if for the life of you cannot picture a heart laying on its side, this is what the square is for, the cube. So, using the cube, if we're going to look at it straightforward, it's going to be just a square. And if you want to make it into a heart, what you're going to do is you're going to draw the heart on top of the square, like this. This is what we're going to do. And then we're going to lay it down. So if we were to lay it down sideways, that heart would look like this on the cube. Now that cube works as a frame for you to picture what the heart would look like if it was lying down sideways. So if we were to erase the cube afterwards, we're going to get that heart shape of the three-dimensional candy heart that we want. So what we're going to do, we're going to erase that square. And you can do this on paper to help you kind of get your mindset into it. So if we were to redraw that heart without the square, we know that the part facing us at the bottom is going to be bigger than the curve of the heart on top, because that's what the square taught us. So the top one is going to be shorter than the line on the bottom. Then we just add some lines at the edges and connect them using the exact same curve that the heart has on the top and on the bottom right here. That has to be the exact same, and then they're just connected by horizontal lines. Very good. Okay, we can speak English. So as you can see, those are the exact same lines. Now, taking that into account, I'm going to be drawing cubes in different angles so that we can apply the rule of the heart on them. That way we can draw candy hearts in different angles as well. So instead of a cube, maybe think of it as a keyboard, or a little, like, the little square keyboards, or maybe like a little box. So if we were to draw the hearts on top of those cubes, they'd start to look like this. You see the one where the bottom is facing us, the heart is very shallow. This one we already did, this third one. And then the last one, oh, sorry, I keep making little points there because when my hand touches the screen, it thinks I'm writing. I'm supposed to be writing on the Apple Pencil, but anyway, I don't know how to turn that off. So if we start using that rule of boxes, it's going to help us draw these hearts in whatever shape we want. So yeah, I would recommend practicing three-dimensional shapes in different angles using cubes because it is the easiest way to learn how to paint three-dimensional shapes. A really tricky part about drawing a 3D heart is that top edge. That's not the side, but it's also the top. When do you paint that edge? Because on the third one here, in this blue one, the light blue side is almost like you cannot see it. It's because it is a different shape than a square. We do have to keep that in mind. So it is a little bit confusing. I would agree with that. So for example, on this square, that yellow part is also the two sides on the heart at the bottom there. So it doesn't really exactly line up. We just want to use it to help us grasp our brain around it. But for the most part, a candy heart will look like this. You're going to have the side, and then you're going to have the top that you can see a little bit. So if we were to match the colors, that would be the face of the heart. And you can see the top in yellow, and you can see the side in pink. That's going to be your basic candy heart shape they're going to be using for your nail. So let's actually draw on a nail here. We're going to be drawing our little hearts. One going, let's choose black. So one going this way, angled this way. This is our typical shape. Nothing too difficult. It's what most people use in Instagram for drawing their candy hearts. Same with this way. This is a little bit of an awkward angle. I wouldn't really recommend it just because it's hard to draw and you get that one 3D side that's kind of too thin and it's just going to be hard to paint. And then for a third heart, we're going to be painting it from the top view, meaning we're going to be seeing the top of the heart. This one is also a little bit of like an awkward one because the face of the heart is facing away from us and it's not going to look as nice. Another way to think of a heart is to break it up into 2 squares. This way is the easiest way that you'll be able to see the different angles of the heart, whichever way you place it. But of course, the actual best way to learn how to draw a candy heart is just to look at it from real life. Take a candy heart and take your sketch pad and then just put the candy heart in different angles and try to draw it in that way. Because we want to master the shape of the heart before we try to paint it on a nail, because that's going to be a lot harder. Another thing I want to mention is heart shape. That first one there is kind of long. This middle one is sort of more of like a neutral chubby heart, and then the third one is more stylized. Now for the candy heart, because it is made by a machine, it's not really a perfect heart. It's kind of just like a chalky blob that looks like this. It's like really chunky on the sides and doesn't really have that curve that goes in at the points at the top and at the bottom. But what we do want for a candy heart is a more wide kind of heart. Not so wide that it looks so stylized that it could be in like a Gucci bag, but just like in this middle range is what we want our candy hearts to be. Not too long and not too wide. Conclusion, we want a heart where the fat part that's going to be 3D is going to be bigger than the line on top of it, or the line facing away from us. That line is going to be shorter than the line facing towards us, the one that's touching the 3D side. And then we're going to be drawing our letters sideways on it. So here, same thing. It's just a heart, 2 lines at the edges, and then the same line, same curvature line at the bottom. For this one, it's going to be facing at the top. Put your lines at the edges. Anything that's a corner, you're going to just draw a line that goes straight out and then connect them with the same curve that's on that same side of the heart. And then of course, keep your messages short, otherwise they will not be able to fit on a tiny heart in a nail. So for drawing the letters, we want to keep them sideways because our heart is technically on a side, right? It's on a slant. So if you were to draw the cube on top of this heart, the lines would be going horizontal this way, and that is the line angle that you want to write on. That's going to give a more realistic sort of look to your hearts, instead of just drawing the letters going straight across, but then your heart is on an angle. Like, technically that doesn't make sense. So you want to write sideways like this. Practice on lines first before you draw freehand, or it's gonna look kind of wonky. So yeah, for example, you're gonna draw some lines this way. Let's say that's the way your heart is going, and then you can practice writing horizontal letter or sideways letters like this. Everything that's going horizontal should be on that line that's on an angle. So for example, your U's are gonna look like this, kind of wonky sideways, or your O's, instead of a circle, it would look more like a slanted circle like this for you. So practice that on paper before we start going into real life, or it's going to be really, really hard. You kind of want to master that doodle. It's going to make your nails painting a lot easier. So now I want to talk about color. These candy hearts tend to be kind of a chalky pastel. We want to stick to pastel colors, and then our letters, we want to make them red. That way they stay with the traditional look of the candy hearts. I mean, of course, you can always do whatever you want, but this will just make it look a little more realistic. If you don't have pastel colors, just add white to whatever you have. That's what I do, and it works perfectly fine. Even mixing brands. I know you're not supposed to, but I do, and it's fine. So I'm going to be starting with my heart here using a dotting tool because I like it for setting big spaces And especially if they're round, and I know these candy hearts kind of have, they don't really have very too pointy of like edges, even like in the middle there at the top and the bottom. It's kind of rounded because it is a candy heart. It's not like a perfect heart. Now remember, when you're making your heart, you want the side that's going to be 3D, the side where you're going to put the bottom part, to be bigger than the side that's not, the side that's facing away from you. We want the part facing you to be bigger so that it looks like it's on an angle. So that if it was three-dimensional, we were to lay it down flat, the part that's farther away from you would get smaller, right? As we learned in the doodles. Now, I did make this before I drew my own tutorial. So, I'm not even following my own advice, which makes this kind of a failed tutorial, but it still kind of teaches you how to paint hearts onto a nail. Just use the logic from the tutorial in the digital part, please. Now, as for the placement of your candy hearts, you can have them all horizontally on top of each other. You can have just one big one in the middle. Or you can do what I'm doing here, which is sort of a pattern look. So lots of it is going to be cut out. It's like if you just took like a washi tape and you put it on top of a nail, you don't know which heart is going to get cut out of the nail. So that's what I'm kind of going for right here. And as a reminder, when using the dotting tool, you don't want to press into the nail. You kind of just want to take gel with the dot and then drag it around your nail. Like, see here, I'm kind of pressing too hard and leaving kind of scratch marks. But then afterwards, I go on top and don't really press the nail. I'm just kind of dragging the product around. And that's kind of like how a ballpoint pen works. It's just kind of guiding ink throughout the paper. This is what the dotting tool does with gel, which is why I like using it to make really round things, because it's the perfect shape. So now that I've got my candy hearts ready, I'm just going to cure them in the lamp for 30 seconds. And we're going to get started with our lettering. Again, I'm not using the sideways letters method that I taught you in the digital design, but you know what? If you can't do that, this will look just as good. Now, when I was writing these messages, I was thinking of that song from TikTok that's like, back in the day, me and you, baby, we used to have fun. So the next two hearts here are just going to say me and you, baby. Oh, I messed up there. My hand shook and I made the white thick, but it's okay, I fixed it. And for this, we're going to be using a micro detailer brush that is short. That way we can draw little curves much easier than if we were to use a long liner brush. That's for more bigger shapes. You're going to see later I'm going to be outlining these hearts. So, but for little things, we want to use a short brush. So this one says baby. I love that one. That's probably my favorite. It's the candy heart that says baby. Or the one that says text me. It's so ambiguous. So modern. You can give it to your crush and it can mean anything. It could be like, text me, I like you, let's hang out. And if they're like, you have a crush on me, you'd be like, what? I'm just saying text me, like, you're really cool. Like, you don't have to be like that. And first of all, Dylan, you don't have to be like that, So what if I have a crush on you? Anyway, yeah. If I was a school teacher and I were to teach kids about Valentine's Day, I would actually encourage them to tell somebody that they like them. But I would just prepare them for in case their crush says no. Because I think that's an important lesson. It's like, if you like somebody, tell them, by all means. And if they say no, also be prepared for that and respect their choice. And then, teach them not to take it personally. Teach them to take the pain in a healthy way. I mean, that would have been a little better than what happened to me in grade 4. Do you want to hear it? Fine, I'll tell you. So in grade 4, our school teacher was like, okay, or it was in grade 5, I don't know. They were like, okay, if you're going to bring Valentines to everybody on the class, bring it for everybody. Don't bring one special thing for one kid, because then you're going to be calling them out and they're going to be embarrassed. It's going to be bad for you. So don't make any Valentines special for anybody. Just bring one thing. If you're going to bring a thing for someone, bring it for everybody. But I don't know. I was like all romantic and stuff, and I was like, no, it's okay. And I gave my crush, Ryan Pretty. Yes, that's his name, Ryan Pretty. I gave him a teddy bear. I gave everybody else candy, and then I just gave him a teddy bear. And he didn't talk to me after that. So, yeah. Should have gave him a text me candy heart. But anyways, candy hearts. Here's what it looks like once I've added the 3D aspect to my heart shapes. As you can see, they're already looking like candy hearts in real life. So what I did is I took the color of whatever candy heart that is and I mixed it with some brown so that it looks like it's sort of shaded, right? So if you were to put a cube, you lay it down flat, you flash some light on it, maybe at the top. The top part is where it's going to be the brightest, which means the side parts are going to be a little darker because the light is not hitting it as much. That is why I'm taking these colors and making them darker, so that our main focus is on the face part of the heart, which is the one that's facing you, and it's going to be bright, and the sides are just going to be a little bit darker, a little bit shaded. So I'm just adding some brown to give the illusion that it's, three-dimensional and realistic, and that the light is hitting the top of the heart. And the reason I want you to practice on paper is so that once you get to the actual painting part, you don't want to sit there and think, oh my god, where am I adding this dark line? Or so it's not super confusing. You want to practice ahead of time so that you're not bamboozled trying to figure out 3D stuff, because it can be sort of it takes brain power for sure. That way, all you have to do is draw a dark line just the way I did here. And now for the outline, because these are pastel colors, I don't recommend you use black. I feel like black outline on pastel-y things is just too much. Like, pastels are supposed to be light and candy and kind of babyish, and I don't think black is a very baby color. But the black version of, I guess if you were to put black with a pastel color, like filter on top, it would be brown. That is the color I recommend. I know with all my Sanrio stuff, it's always like pastel-y little things, like my little twin star blankets and stuff. The outline is always like a caramelly brown, or maybe this like not so black brown. That's going to help your pastel look kind of look better. If you are going to do an outline, use brown with pastels. If your candy hearts are going to be bright color, then I would suggest using black then, or you can still use brown, but just don't mix pastel with black. It's just, I don't recommend it. You can, I don't recommend it. And as you can see, I'm using the long liner brush for making these outlines because it is a bigger shape. If I were to use a long liner brush to do the little letters, I would have to stop myself from fully using the brush. It would just be a mess, and it doesn't curve in tiny ways as good as the micro detailer brush does. So this is why I'm using the long one. Now, if you wanted to smooth outlines, this I cannot help you with right now. This is something I need to practice. Yes, because the best way to get better at outlining is just to do it a lot. So I've only been doing this for what, a year? No, less, like 7 months. So yeah, I also need to practice on my outlining so that I can look perfectly smooth. But if you're like me, then you can at least see it on TV or your computer. I call YouTube TV. But you can see it on YouTube and you can say, oh, well, if she can get away with not having super straight lines and still look cute, then I can get away with it. And yeah, don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect, but one day it will be, and that's what I tell myself, and that's what keeps me moving forward, because I know I'm only going to get better in time. That's why you got to love what you do, so that you can continue with it, because no matter what you do, if you're going to get better, it's going to take dedication, and it is going to be hard. Now, which top coat should we use, glossy or matte? And the answer is, doesn't matter. It could be either or. We do not discriminate against matte or glossy finishes in this channel, babe. So for this one, I am using a matte top coat though, because candy hearts are kind of chalky, and the closest thing to that is a matte finish. They're not, shiny candies. So that's why I would either go with either or though, because in glossy, it looks beautiful. So boys and girls and everything in between or outside of that, thank you so much for watching my tutorial. I do hope it was helpful and that you get to painting many candy hearts this Valentine's season. Make sure to like and subscribe. I do post every single week on Tuesdays, and you can always comment down below to see what I should do for next week, or DM me on my Instagram. I really love to talk to you and see what's up. Don't forget to use cuticle oil, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much, lovelies. Bye bye. I love you.